And good afternoon, racing fans. Welcome to Hawthorne Racecourse for Wednesday late afternoon of thoroughbred action. Jim Miller and Emily Gullikson up here in our studio on the mezzanine level. And Emily, it's hot, it's humid here in the Chicagoland area. It's kind of sticky outside, so because of that, we kind of made the choice a couple days ago, said, hey, let's move things a little bit later, start to get kind of on the tail end of that heat and get things cooling off a little bit as the card progresses today.
Yeah, it's such a different type of heat out
Yeah.
here. I'm from Arizona, so heat, they say it's a dry heat, but here it's like you don't feel it right away.
Right.
And then when you're outside for a little bit, it hits you hard, and you don't really realize it. And so, yeah, it's the right call because it's, like I said, it's that different type of humidity plus the heat, and then I think kind of did the right thing when you're going to make a call to do it early. Let people adjust and come. And the card was a great card and stayed intact. We're off the turf, but for the most part, a lot of these races remain full and competitive.
Yeah, and it is a good competitive card. Like you mentioned, we're off the turf. We had rain for about an hour earlier on today, and it rained hard. I mean, these were heavy thunderstorms. Almost 3/4 of an inch of rain fell here in the Chicagoland area. Off the turf today. I expect we'll be back on for tomorrow's card. A reminder for everybody, tomorrow we're also going to have the later post because it's going to be warm once again. So again, 4:50 p.m. Central Time. We have the lights here at Hawthorne. I don't think we'll have to use them. I think we'll be right around 8 o'clock for the finale tonight, a little bit earlier tomorrow. But looking at kind of how things go, we're going to try to stagger today with the end of Parks, the end of racing at Saratoga, and then going into the evening cards. Tomorrow, Del Mar's racing, so we'll stagger back and forth with them throughout the course of the day as they're at the top and bottom of the hour. So we'll go at 50 and 20 and do that staggering through our 7 races. So things should work out rather nicely. But Emily, the cool thing is the focus is right there on the start of the day today because nobody hit the pick 5 on Sunday. Nice little bonus money with over 6,000 in the pick 5 carryover.
Yeah, it was a good sequence. Started out a little bit chalky, then Bealia came through in race 3. There was a couple horses in there with option and Danville that probably took a lot of the money, and then a couple upsets in leg 4 and 5, and that's pretty much all it takes. So a bonus 6,000 in there, and it's a competitive sequence. I know we're looking at the board, and there's probably going to be a heavy favorite to start it out, but maybe some other options throughout the sequence.
Yeah, and looking at the sequence, first 5 races, 7-horse field, and 3 straight 9s for the sequence. So it is. It's a very competitive sequence despite being off the turf. Track listed as good right now. Our track here at Hawthorne does dry out very well. We needed that extra time just to get it to good, but our track crew's done a very good job. Maybe later on in the card we get upgraded to fast. We'll see, but we are good to open up the day. All right, Emily, race number 1, as we mentioned, that pick 5 carryover, and again, just a 15% takeout on the pick 5. That carryover, $6,073. Scratch the 2 and the 8 in here. The 9 does draw in a Chrome Racer. Julio Felix is going to be aboard a Chrome Racer in this spot. You get the field here of 8 in race number 1, and you look up and down the field, 1 to 5 on the 4. Sweet Little Lisa, so that's the one we'll start with in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very logical. As far as the horses that have run, at least the ones with local experience stands out, has been competitive in the maiden special weight races where a lot of the other horses have struggled against maiden claiming company. And both of her races have been good, all things considered. I mean, her debut, you can make the case she was probably best that day, and then had to rush up and stayed on as the best of speed to just get caught with that second place finish in her most recent start. So, moving to the main track, obviously it doesn't seem like there's that much concern as far as the early wagering, but
you're learning. You're a professional. This is good, Emily. There's a lot going on. It's one of those things where you watch kind of the behind-the-scenes stuff, but I'm proud of you. You jumped out there. You're doing just fine. Yeah, 1 to 5 favorite.
Practice. I've been on my own a couple times.
And you did a great job on Sunday. I was watching that too. That was awesome. But you're going to find out the reason why we had a little bit of distraction in a little bit. Hopefully, I'm hoping that our guest today is going to join us a little bit later on. But yeah, like you mentioned, all right, Sweet Little Lisa. 1 to 5. It was a good effort in that last out. The horse battled the entire way. There's some other pace in there. Short Straw can show speed. Go On Girl can show speed as well. Louis Roussel's got 2 runners in this spot, and both can be competitive. You're looking at one of them at 8 to 1, and Ruth LaJuda, the one on debut. Chrome Racer, the MTO, draws in, sitting at 5 to 1. So I don't think it's a gimme. I don't think it's a layup here with 1 to 5 on Sweet Little Lisa, but I think you have the potential maybe to catch a little bit of a price to kick off the sequence.
I think those 2, as you mentioned, for Roussel are probably the most likely kind of upsetters, sort of new faces in here. As far as Ruth LaJuda, she worked 10 and 3 at the June sale last year, so this is a belated debut, but the barn's certainly capable. And then as the main track only, obviously, that certainly upgrades and in their favor. Chrome Racer probably has to show a little bit more, but the intent is on there. And the race par comes down a little bit with the surface switch.
Kudos to the Connections for shipping them both with one of those things where just in case that option came that it came off, Chrome Racer gets in, because if the race had stayed on, Chrome Racer wouldn't have gotten to race. So they both come, they both stay in the race, but a good race there, I think, to kick off the start of that pick 5 with the carryover. Race number 2 today goes a mile and a 16, scratch the 5 Campaign Spy, leaves you with a field of 7. These are $5,000 claimers, 50-cent early pick 4 wagering, just a 15% takeout on that as well. And Emily, looking at the second in here, Ice Blast is kind of the one that you have to start with. The horse was claimed for 12.5, but that claim was voided off a victory in that last out. Now you drop in for 5. That was the one concerning thing to me. Maybe it's say, hey, we got claimed for the 12.5 and it was voided. Why not drop down for the 5? If you get claimed and it gets voided again, now you're going to become starter eligible. So we'll see what the intent is with this runner.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting point. I mean, as far as Ice Blast, yeah, the drop kind of created some concerns. Maybe just kind of look for some alternatives. But as an individual, certainly makes sense. I mean, it wasn't just a win for 12.5.
Right.
Very dominant that day. Made a positive physical impression. So we'll be able to look at him in the paddock today, see if there's any physical changes. But otherwise fits. And then it was an excuse back in allowance company. So no knocks as an individual, just a little bit of caution with that class change.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this is a barn that's definitely heated up as the season has progressed. Out of the 19 starters Ingrid Mason sent out, 11 of them have found the board on the meet, and Ice Blast being one of those. I took a little bit of a shot with Big Blue. I thought the 6 could get into the mix in this spot. It's going to come down a little bit to pace in this race, but with Campaign Spy out of there, I think it changes things up a little bit, helps Big Blue a little bit to rate a bit closer, maybe works against a horse like Pistol Box a little bit.
Hope not.
Yeah, because that's a horse.
I give Pistol Box a look in here.
Well, and you have to. I mean,
Yeah,
I just don't know what the pace is going to be now.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at the plot because it's one of those tricky ones where it has a fire contention, but it's a low speed rate. So it's a lot of horses that want to be on or near the lead, but not necessarily horses that have to go super fast. And sometimes that can help a closer like Pistol Box because he doesn't get so far detached chasing behind that fast pace, and then also has all those horses kind of getting congested and kind of make that run. And rider change, Esquivel getting aboard, I think is positive. Everything he's been riding, he's been upgraded. So Pistol Box, it still has a look at a price. I'm just mentioning it because of the pick 5, and I want to make sure it's there before people want to throw it in their tickets.
I love it. FanDuel TV has a great shot of the Chicago skyline there too. That's pretty impressive there. So kudos to them there as we get ready for the opener. Race number 3 today, field of 9. Alex Bendezu aboard the 4. That's a red label. Pick 6 starts in the 3rd. We go 5.5 furlongs. $5,000 claimers in the spot. I thought this was a pretty tough race if you can get past Time Heist, because Time Heist is going to take a lot of action back down at the level where this one was a winner claimed, and the claim was voided off the win as well. But if Time Heist gets back to those races, that's a horse that'll be pretty tough. But Wildwood Secret, I know you have in the mix. I like Public Safety a little bit as well.
Yeah, I think we kind of saw it the same way. It doesn't seem like there's places to get too super creative.
Sure.
Probably those ones seem like the most logical in here. The Last Fact maybe gets back to some top form here, maybe regress a little bit, but otherwise I kind of see it the same way. I think Wildwood Secret could be kind of one of those best of the speed types or sitting right off, and then Time Heist, super logical.
Yeah, Time Heist was really good in that start 3 back. And again, you tried that starter company after that open 6250 company. You're back down for the conditioned 5 today. Jim Watkins has had himself a very good meet as well. So I expect that horse to be a short price favorite. We'll see if we can try to beat that one in race number 3. 4th race on the card, off the turf, 5/8 of a mile on the good main track. Starter optional company in here. Scratch the 1, Getting Tipsy. Scratch the 5, She's a Reckless. Put Manny Esquivel in the 2, Long Tall Woman, because Chris Amy rides the 11, Awesome Sunday, which drew into this spot. And Emily, this is a race I originally had Getting Tipsy on top, actually on the grass, taking a shot at a price. But now this is a race where you've seen a lot of these horses kind of contend against one another time and again on the main track.
Yeah, and then Awesome Sunday getting in just creates even more pace. And Brittany Vandenberg sending out a lot of live horses, and one of those being Awesome Sunday just 10 days ago. Maybe regresses a little bit in this spot. There's some other pace in here. With this race on the turf, I was really trying to get creative with Medway Queen. I thought she had a big look. They've been trying to get her on the turf, been super unlucky, and they get unlucky once again. But her dirt races aren't bad either. And she can show a little bit of early speed. And if she's back in top form, I don't think she's that far off. But it's a race you probably want to spread a little bit in those tickets just with the surface switch. And with a lot of these horses that aren't far off in terms of form. Yeah,
and we'll be curious to see kind of how they bet this race. Now, I think First Kitten will take a lot of action. Long Tall Woman typically does as well. Princess Stella, I gave the look to in here. But again, It just comes down to the amount of pace in this race. This is one that's really kind of committed to the front. Maybe she's the fastest of the fast to the front. Maybe she goes out there and gets pushed along and backs up, but we'll see how things unfold. But at 5/8 of a mile, I'm hoping that she can go out there and scamper away and make every call a winning one there in race number 4. Fifth race on the card, $20,000 claimers, now winners of 3. Scratch the 1, Cindy's G-Man. Kevin Roman rides the 8, Race Sereno. 9, Sunny is Not So Funny, ridden by Luis Colon. You and I think, saw this race a little bit differently in this spot, because I know you had the 3, 4, and 5 in the mix. I was looking at 8, 9, and 10 in the mix in this spot. So, and I look at your plot, there's kind of numbers all over the place too.
Yeah, and you know, that just says this race is wide open, and it's always kind of, when you see that, it's a race that you don't want to land on a short price, because you know there's other ways to go. So, you know, you can get a little bit creative in here, especially, you know, Rivs on a Roll probably is going to be favored in a horse that really doesn't have much of an edge. Looking at the plot, there's a lot of horses that want to be on or near the lead. Rivs on a Roll, it's a big circle out in quadrant 1, so he's going to take pace pressure, doesn't have a lot of finish. And that's why I landed on Bernie Lomax. Is, you know, he looks good on the plot. He's in a square sitting right off that quadrant 1 flight, which is all circles. Should be able to get first run on some of those other closers. Roccarino, Sunny's Not So Funny, other closing types that could be able to get first run. And Bernie Lomax has some varied form. His race here from earlier this season, he was behind a horse called Black Tekka, who just ran off the screen, and that was before we had the studio, so I was like down on the ground and in the paddock, and I saw the horse in the paddock, and I was like, this horse isn't losing today. He just looks, you know, and you know it when you see it, and I knew it when I saw it, and that horse ran to it. Bernie Lomax finished second. The race last out at FanDuel. He probably could have won that race, ran a good effort, just the winner was able to have a pace advantage. And then breaking news is the wild card, because there's so much back class there. If he runs back to those races, I mean, could be the horse. And
I didn't know what to do with him for the line, because this is a horse that, you're right, faced a whole lot of really good race horses there, but it's been away since last October. But you look at the connection. Cipriano Contreras, the guy that we know here in the Chicagoland area, has always done very well here at Hawthorne too. And you're right, Rivs on a Roll is going to take action. I went to the 10 T-Burns kind of with the hope that you run similarly to last race, which was settle back a little bit early on, then try to make that run in the lane. Because I think if the horse tries to push things along early on, I don't think they can go with Rivs on a Roll. And just looking at that from the outside draw, it probably compromises their chances. So maybe settle back, maybe try to run on late, but with Cindy's G-Man out, it probably moves up a horse like Rivs on a Roll a little bit, because the pressure right next to you might be gone. So this is a race where I can understand the plot having horses everywhere too, and you kind of look at it and just see, okay, let's see what we can get value-wise there in race number 5. Sixth race was the one race that was hurt a little bit coming off the turf. Mile and a 16th on the main track here. $40,000 optional claim and allowance company. Scratch the 1, Sailing Solo. 3, February Sun. 4, Command Central. 7, Coyote Road. And the 8, Power Through. The 10, Gita's Lad, does draw in. Gets Julio Felix in the saddle. It's a field of 5 now in this spot. I'm happy Protonic Power stayed in. I thought that horse was going to be tough on turf. Dirt, I don't think it really mattered for that runner today.
Yeah, I saw it the same way. And it's funny that you mentioned the race got hurt by scratches. And probably not if you're the connections of Gita's Lad, because you know, that certainly moves this horse up and could be controlling speed. But I'm still with you. I think Protonic Power still has the class. He has enough tactical speed for today's race shape, especially if, you know, if Gita's Lad just goes out and clears, he may be tough to kind of reel in. But if they kind of run an honest race, Protonic Power is not that far off and can sit right off and close. Yeah,
I'm happy Captivating Moon stayed in. This is a horse that's had some success on the main track as well. Landmark Deal just ran a good race in the Black Tie Affair. Gray Streak, a horse that you love and is near and dear to you, and should be, because of the last start at Hawthorne back on May the 21st, winning at 45-1. So it's still a good competitive race for race number 6. Loses a little bit numbers-wise, but it is a good competitive bunch for that spot. 7th is the feature of the Jean Elizabeth Handicap, $75,000 guaranteed pot. They go 6.5 furlongs. Scratch the 1, Golden Bell, and the 5, Alberta Sun. With that field of 6, the 6.5 might be the key in here today, Emily, because there's a good amount of pace in this race. Yavovar is going to be a very heavy favorite in this spot. I picked her second. I may be wrong. She may win at 1-5 and run out of the screen. I took a shot with Charlie's Penny. How did you see this race unfolding?
I honestly kind of saw it the same way. I think that the pace comes into play. The extended sprint distance can always create a hurdle for horses that can be kind of a tricky distance. And as far as Ovar, I mean, she stood over the field the third chance. I mean, she kind of gave the field a head start and could have gave him even more of a head start and still would have won. And this is just a tougher group for her. They've been looking to get her on the turf. Been a little bit unlucky. There's been a couple scratches. And again, this is just a tough group. I gave a look to Sharp Hero in here. Sharp Hero to me has a lot of buried form. She ran, and she's run against really tough
Yeah,
company.
she is.
The Dream Supreme race last November at Churchill Downs, that could have been a graded stakes race based on the horses that were in there. She had a huge look to me when she showed up here out of that race, absolutely ran to it. She crushed earlier in this season, and since then, she's just been running against much tougher. She's been running on the turf. She handles the turf fine, but it just comes down to class.
Yeah.
She has enough tactical speed, she has enough form, and she has enough ugly finishes in her past 3 run lines
that you're going to
get
price.
overlooked. Exactly. Yeah. And that's my combination. So I think she's still, the scratches maybe hurts the price a little bit, but I still think she'll be on the overside of 4-1 and fair odds.
Every time she's ever finished in the top 3 has been here at Hawthorne, and that's 9 out of 11 starts over the track. So the horse loves this track. 6.5 definitely does suit the horse as well. We'll see what the pace scenario is. Charlie's Penny, I'm curious to find out what we're going to get out of this one. She's relatively lightly raced for a 5-year-old mare. She's only made 12 starts on her career. She finished second in the edition of this race last year, which was called the Crestwood at the time. Chitara, who was in this race, was the winner of that race. So it is one of those races where you can look and see. And then you get a horse like Queen's Up, who ran a really nice race in that last out, showing speed as well. So it's a good solid bunch there for the Jean Elizabeth handicap. Race number 8, jackpot high 5 wager in that carryover, $166,237. Scratch the 1, Charming Victory, 7 Smilin' Stormy, 8 Jake's Channel, and the 13 Flying Cricket. 11 and 12 both get in. Luis Colon on the 2, Artie and Jesse. This is a pretty wide open bunch here, Emily, and I guess the question kind of comes to what you're going to expect out of the 9. Congrats on 50, as this one's been away since what wasn't a bad race, I didn't think, in that debut at Oaklawn Park in May.
Yeah, I think you kind of at least have to start there because the horse has recorded the fastest speed figure of the horses that have run, so that just kind of moves to the top. And as far as that race that day, they had a lone lead, lacked finish, but have been off the time since. A couple of those horses in that race had some quality to them. Manta Ray came out and ran here and broke their maiden special weight company for Heron. So the circuit switch, probably the right move. Some of the other horses in that race could be a little bit suspect, but I think that they're in the right level. So I don't really have a knock. At the same time, there's certainly reason to be a little bit cautious, but then it's like, where do you go? I would, at that point, I'm going to upgrade all the first-time starters, just giving the edge of the horses that have experience to congrats on 50. So I think if it's going to be somebody else, it could be those new faces. Fully Charged is probably the one that's most well met. It was a main track only, running some fast bullets at FanDuel. You've pointed this out in the past. Shipping in, they could run there where it's home. It's not like it's right up the road. It's a van ride to come up here, and you're coming up here with intent. Heather Orange, she got her first win over the weekend, so could be some momentum.
And it's one of those when you see the difference in purse level, and there is a difference in purse level between here and FanDuel, if you think you have that opportunity to break the maiden and go through a condition, you want to do it for the bigger pot. So that's kind of the thought process there. I could see that horse being in the mix as well. Ice Shard ran a pretty good race on the grass in that last out. AP Blazing Green, the 2 races that have come off the turf have been solid, and that's an Illinois bred horse that's running against open company, so they can get that Illinois bonus too. So it is a solid race, good wide open bunch there to close things out. All right, now we got to go back to the first and focus on the opener because we do have that carryover in the pick 5, and it starts here in race number 1, and you really want to focus here on the pick 5 with that carryover, $6,073. Then race number 1, scratch the 2, Wahida of Mardon, and scratch the 8, Richie's Princess. Put Julio Felix on the 9, Chrome Racer. And Emily, as we take a look at the horses walking into the paddock right now, Sweet Little Lisa, the 4, is going to be your favorite, currently sitting at 2-5 on the board.
Yeah, as an individual, I mean, tough to knock. Both races have been good. She's been able to show early speed. She's been able to show she can pass horses. She's staying in the race, so obviously the connections are confident as far as, wanting her to run. I know that they've been kind of unlucky in those 2 races, so I don't think they would want to be unlucky for a third time. She makes a lot of sense. It's a short price. If you're playing the pick 5, she's going to be on most of the tickets. So it, comes down to in terms of how you're going to strategize your tickets. Try to sneak away in this first leg, or use here and go elsewhere. But no knocks on her as an individual.
No, not at all. I think the 5/8 of a mile distance is beneficial. She went 5.5 in that last out, and if it was 5/8, she would have won. Visionista was the one that just ran by late in the lane, but she was a short price favorite in there as well. She's 2-5 in here right now. And I think there's some other horses you can look at. Sweet Little Lisa is definitely going to be in the mix. She's clearly the horse to beat in this spot, and you can't toss her out completely. But trainer Louis Roussel sends 2 in here from Indiana, 7 Ruth of Judah, and the 9 Chrome Racer. Now the 7 Ruth of Judah right now currently sits at 7-1 on the board. This is a horse that is on debut here. Probably bred for distance. I mean, sired by Blame, you get Lasix for the first time out, but you have some intention coming into this spot because they do run them both. And this is a horse that had a nice drill at Horseshoe Indianapolis back on July the 7th. And I wouldn't completely dismiss the chances of this one either.
Yeah, I don't think so at all. I mean, we're getting a look at her right now. Went back and watched the sales video from last year where she worked 10-3. Obviously, there's been some issues because, you know, June sale, she was obviously kind of ready at that point. So it could be one of those that now they finally got her ready, had to work through all that stuff. Probably, you know, has her race ready, you know, coming in with the intent. The barn's certainly capable. She looks good as we're seeing her saddle right now.
Yeah, she did look good. I mean, when you're getting ready for that first start on in a day where it's warm, you want to see if horses are washing out by any means, how they're acting. She's handled everything just fine. Looks good in the paddock there as well. Now, the other Roussel runner is the 9. That's Chrome Racer. You get a look right there at Chrome Racer. This one also makes a pretty good impression in the paddock as well. She's got 9 starts under her belt, but she does have 5 runner-up efforts. So this is a horse that always seems to be competitive, kind of rates in that second flight, but does move forwardly in the lane. And hey, they thought enough of this one to ship over for this race as well with the hope that it would come off the turf. It does, and the horse stays in.
Yeah, maybe one to watch because we can see, starting to see a little bit of sweat build. I don't know. I've been following this one throughout her career, and she's never really washed out. I wouldn't say she's washed out right now. What we're seeing right now is water, but just between her kidneys. And as far as speed figures, she's run some fast numbers and run races that were winning type efforts, all things considered. The problem is she does have those layoff lines, so there's obviously some little issue in there that's keeping her from pairing up wins and getting that first initial win. But she's on this circuit. She's in this spot for main track only, so there's certainly intent. Like we said on the pre-race show, I think if Sweet Little Lisa gets beat in here, probably these two are the biggest threat.
And I would say they're the biggest threats as well. Now, there's some big prices for some others, one being the 3 horse. This one at 28-1. You get a look at that horse right there. That is Silver Eyes. Silver Eyes from the barn of trainer Robert Pompel. This one stayed in that race that came off the grass in that last out as well. The horse was nearly 60-1 that day for the first start out of the year and still ran third, was 4 3/4 lengths behind Sweet Little Lisa. But I would think every right to improve in the second race back of the season.
Yeah, my biggest question, I agree. I think she can definitely step forward. It's just, once again, it's going to be class. Is where she's going to fit at this open maiden special weight company. Just off the visuals last out, I kind of projected they would take the drop. They don't necessarily. So if you like her, you're definitely getting compensated. She's still a race away from me.
Yep, and then we'll look at a couple others here. The 1, Short Straw, 21-1 on Short Straw. And here, Angel Reyes aboard for trainer Jose Rodriguez. This one was claimed for 62.50, 2 starts back. We know she has speed. The question is, okay, stamina and class, because you're definitely stepping up. The one thing I was curious about, though, first time Lasix today, so you never know. I think this is a big step up in class, but if for some reason the others missed a break and the horse gets loose early on, you tend to wonder if maybe can hang around for a little bit of a share.
Yeah, maybe. You know, the class jump is significant, and as far as the races to date, every single one has been lacking a finish. She was able to get an easy lead last out, packed it in. Perhaps it's one of those that the addition of Lasix will help. Is it enough to move her forward 30, 40 points?
Right.
I don't know, because that's what she would need even her debut, which was arguably the fastest figure and most competitive to date. That race would still require 30 points in order to win, maybe more. Yeah,
exactly. And so I don't know if that's going to be the case either. After that, the 5 is Go On Girl. Go On Girl's 13-1. The 6 is Get Out of My Kitchen. Get Out of My Kitchen is 22-1. But as you look on your screen right there, you're seeing the carryovers today. The pick 5 carryover in race number 1, $6,073. The high 5 carryover, race number 8, and that's a jackpot wager, $166,237. There's the 5 at Go On Girl, Emily. This is the other one that might keep things honest a little bit up front. The interesting thing about Go On Girl, this was a horse that was running in some stakes races as a 2-year-old filly last winter, showed some speed in those races before giving way, so we know she's fast early. It just comes down to stamina a little bit.
Yeah, and in those races, she might have been in there just to keep pace because Ravelli had some that kind of sat right off and were able to win those races, so I don't know as far as intent. But kind of the same pattern as far as Short Straw, maybe is just the better of those two. Faster, certainly, in terms of recorded numbers, where she gets that lead and then just lacks finish. And I do notice that they have the front wraps on today for the first time as well.
Yeah, and then lastly was the 6. That is Get Out of My Kitchen. Get Out of My Kitchen, you're looking right there, making the turn, 22-1, now 21-1 from the barn of Manny Perez. Comes out of that same race as Sweet Little Lisa and Silver Eyes in that last out. Chased the pace in that spot before giving way in the lane, but another one that's making just the second start out of the year.
Yeah, this is probably the one that has the most upside to improve, because she had some decent numbers going back, so could certainly step forward off that, and has also been up close to fast paces, where some of the others have been kind of on average or slower paces. She's been up close to fast paces, so maybe the most upside there, but probably one that has been intended for the turf and a little bit unlucky.
Yeah, exactly. Well, definitely the one to beat in here in race number 1 is the 4. That is Sweet Little Lisa. Pick 5 carryover, $6,073. High 5 carryover. Race number 8, $166,237. You get a great look at the track and turf course. The turf looks beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Will be on the grass tomorrow, I would expect. Main track does dry out quickly, as you can see. There's still a little bit of moisture in the main track, so the main track is listed as good. We are going to have short and post parades throughout the course of the day due to the heat, so the horses will come out about 2 or 3 minutes to post. They'll do a post parade, a brief warm up, and head to the gate, as we don't want to leave them out there in the heat for too long. So short and post parades throughout the course of the day. But again, pick 5 carryover, $6,073. Make sure you jump in here for race number 1. Good luck.
Racing fans, in this race, number 1, Get Out of My Kitchen, will now carry 1 pound over the program weight. This overweight being announced for the first time. 6, Get Out of My Kitchen, 1 pound over. Remember, short and post parades today. We're off the turf. Dirt track listed as good. In this first race, we have a pick 5 carryover of $6,073. 5 minutes till post for race 1. We're off the turf. Dirt track listed as good. Coming on the track for the Wednesday opener here at Hawthorne, we're off the turf. They'll go 5 furlongs on a dirt track, which is good. Scratch 2, Wahida of Martin. Scratch 8, Richie's Princess. That leaves a field of 7. 1 short straw carries 4 pounds over. 6, Get Out of My Kitchen, now carries 1 pound over the program weight. Rider change 9, Chrome Racer, make the jockey Julio Felix. The weight's okay. Win, play, show, exacta, trifecta, superfecta. Start the rolling doubles, rolling pick 3s, the 50-cent pick 5. Pick 5 is a carryover, $6,073. Parading here they are. 1 short straw, Angel Reyes riding. 2 is Scratch. 3, Silver Eyes, will be handled by Alexander Bendezu. 4 is Sweet Little Lisa. Alexis Centeno is the rider. 5, Go On Girl, Luis Colon. 6, Get Out of My Kitchen, Emmanuel Giles. Number 7, Ruth of Judah, Javier Tavares aboard. 8 is Scratch. 9, Chrome Racer. We have a rider change, Julio Felix to ride number 9, Chrome Racer. That's the field for the first. Win, play, show, exacta, trifecta, superfecta. Start to rolling doubles, rolling pick threes, the 50-cent pick five. Pick five carryover, one of three carryover pools today. We have a pick five, a pick six, and a jackpot high five carryover pools today. This pick five carryover, $6,073. Off the turf, dirt track listed as good. 2 minutes. Racing fans, little time remains for you to wager on today's first race here at Hawthorne. This race starts the rolling doubles, rolling pick threes, the 50-cent pick five. Pick five, one of three carryover pools today. Pick five carryover, $6,073. Third race, the pick six carryover, $604. The eighth race, jackpot high five carryover, $166,237. We are off the turf today. All the races on the real dirt track. That track is currently listed as good, and we are close to starting time for race one at Hawthorne. Don't forget, tomorrow we'll have another 4:50 post time for the first race tomorrow. Same as today, post time at 4:50. Sunday, we're scheduled to go back to our third 2:30 post time. As always, learn all the happenings at Hawthorne, HawthorneRacecourse.com. Moving towards the gate, less than a minute. Less than a minute, better hurry. Racing fans are at the starting gate for today's first race at Hawthorne, first of 8. 3 carryover pools, pick 5 starting here on the first. Our first carryover pool. We have a pick 6 carryover, a jackpot high 5 carryover. We are off the turf. They're going 5 furlongs on a dirt track, which is currently listed as good after heavy morning rains here at Hawthorne. They're loading up for the opener. Last 2 to go in will be Go On Girl and Chrome Racer. Also waiting for Ruth of Judah. She's acting up a little bit. Still waiting on Ruth of Judah. Also waiting for Go On Girl and Chrome Racer. Ruth of Judah continues to give the assistant starters trouble. Now Ruth of Judah is in, and Javier Tavares will climb back aboard. The last 2 going in, Go On Girl and Chrome Racer. Chrome Racer will be the last to load. 5 furlongs, dirt track good. They're all in the gate at Hawthorne. They're off. Towards the inside, Short Straw going for the lead, and between horses, Sweet Little Lisa, Go On Girl, 3 wide into the turn. And then towards the inside, Silver Eyes, followed on the outside by Get Out of My Kitchen. The trailing pair, Ruth of Judah and Chrome Racer along the rail. And they move around the far turn, little more than 3 furlongs to go, and Short Straw has the lead by 4. Go On Girl chasing second, Sweet Little Lisa third. That one's about 7 from the leader. And then to the outside, Get Out of My Kitchen, moving sharply on the outside, Ruth of Judah. Dropping back, Silver Eyes, Chrome Racer at the end. They come off the turn and straighten away. The whip comes out on Short Straw. She leads by 2. Here's Sweet Little Lisa ducking to the inside, and she has a full head of steam, and here she comes. Sweet Little Lisa now quickly to take the lead and draw away. The battle's going to be for second, but here she is, a sharp winner today. Sweet Little Lisa in front. Chrome Racer came from last to be second, and then it was Go On Girl, tied multiple horse photo for 4th. Maybe Short Straw. In today's first race, number 4, Sweet Little Lisa finished first. 9, Chrome Racer was second. 5, Go On Girl third. 1, Short Straw fourth. 4951 is posted. It's unofficial. 58.59 the running time. 5 furlongs. Dirt track. Good.